we love the word fiduciary because in our definition, it means that we are honor bound not only by our licenses, but by our code of ethics. Thank you. To do the right thing by the client and put the client's interest first, no matter what. And it's a one and done situation. I don't want to start on a compliance note, but you gave me a little hook to work with, Ramez. Like that's everything. And part of what I'm going to talk about today is and I was thinking about this earlier, and I was just at a banking partner's office, and I said, more than anything, our job is to sell trust. Our job is to earn the trust of individuals who are trying to make tough decisions, whose financial life, in some cases, depends on it, and to make sure that they can trust that not only they can get the right answer, but that they can provide their family or their business or their interests in with a relationship that they can actually lean on and be real with, right? Our greatest joy in this business is when we have real and true relationships with our clients, because that allows us not only to do what we call the science part of the business, which is to put together plans and to use mathematics and technology to build solutions, but the art, which is the human overlay, right? When we present sometimes to individuals, or we help individuals make those right investment decisions, sometimes it's about showing them the mathematically efficient avenue, but most of the time it's about showing them the mathematically efficient avenues and allowing that individual to try that on and to experience that in a vacuum, to be able to decide what in their life is the best thing for them individually. And that human overlay, I think, is missed a lot. And what I want to talk about to kind of build some believability or some trust with y'all today is our process and how I think we're a little bit different, that allows us the ability to ask, if you need help, please come to us, right? Because it is, in our opinion, a kind of a broken system that we're involved in with financial advisory in many ways. That's part of the reason why Ramez said what he said in the beginning, right? You need to tread lightly on financial professionals, just like any other profession, right? Legal professionals, medical professionals, but just like legal and medical professionals, I think they're, with the right relationship, it's a critical role to make you more successful in the journey that you're on as a human. So what we try to do, and what I'm going to try to do today, is kind of build a little believability, and I think unique maybe in this environment where with these presentations with IRA Club, I'm going to give an ask. I'm going to give you some resources hopefully today that you can use to better interact with and better utilize the platform that IRA Club's offering. And yes, we do have an offering that's coming to market next month, and there is ways to participate in what we're doing as a company, but I'm going to put that at the end, but kind of hang more on our process and some things to give you a little more value on what to look for, and maybe the ways that we can help as you peruse the system. So
CJ,
as I said,
CJ, I didn't mean to cut you off. Somebody asked or raised their hand. Again, just for housekeeping rules, if you could put those questions either inside the chat or the Q&A. If it's a personal question, and I'm not sure if that was what the individual was trying to do, you could reach out through the chat and just directly reach out to me.
I love questions too, so I'm going to probably get through this a little bit early, and I'd love wherever you want to go with this. So the group is open, and it's an open forum.
Thank you.
Okay, so a little bit about the company. I'm wearing the same thing that I wore in the picture. I love it. So let me tell you a little bit about my co-founder, and then I'll tell you about the company and the story of how we got here. So my co-founder is actually the cousin of my partner, my girlfriend. We met about 6.5 years ago, and he was on his own journey in Wall Street. And him and I sat down, and we started asking these questions. Why? My perspective was, I was seeing the United States working on the West Coast and the East Coast. I had run an investment desk for that same and big insurance company for a few years for California and Hawaii. And they kind of pulled back the curtain and showed me how everything worked on a major Fortune 50 company level. And I got to see how the soup was made. And when I met Brian was on a different journey. Brian was born in Texas. He was raised in Brazil. And he has 2 master's degrees, they're called something different, but in multiple different countries, in Brussels and another country in Europe. So he spent multiple years learning and being institutionally trained all over the world in financial services, and then took that information back and worked on Wall Street and client relations and compliance, And he currently not only champions our compliance division, but oversees a lot of the private equity that we do on an international basis. But that intersection of both of us asking that same why question hit me from the domestic space of why can't I help my clients this way? And him from the international space actually saying, you know, my cousins and my uncles are like dentists. They make the same money a dentist in the United States makes, but because they don't have millions of dollars, they don't have financial planning. They don't have a fiduciary, even in a model for that in the country. How can we do what we do, and why can't we help people internationally like we help people in the United States? And that moment, or that kind of meat grinder that we put our why questions through, got us to the company we are today. So Proxy Financial Corp is 5 divisions. It started with Proxy Capital on the right side. When I was still a financial advisor, I had a lot of lawyer clients. I had cold called lawyers in New York City to build my business. So they were starting to come to me for financial matters for their clients. And one was an immigration attorney that worked in the EB5 space. And that's a version of private equity that, instead of rate of return, if you create jobs with the investment, that international investor therefore gets citizenship in the United States over time for that investment. So swap out rate of return for green card, right? There is a very, very specific process that the client or the investor has to go through. And unfortunately, we were put into that world because there was a lot of fraud. And Proxy Capital was formed because we found that being a fiduciary, being hired by a private equity general partner on behalf of their investors to protect the investor from fraud with the general partner, was actually not only a good business model, but it protected the environment where someone was not just trying to make money, they were trying to change their life. And we were talking about with clients that were sending their kids to university in the States, and they wanted their kids to remain there and build a life and a family there after college. And this was the determining factor. So having fraud in that environment, it just didn't sit well with us. And we built Proxy Capital to sit in the middle of that ecosystem and say, hey, there's a better way to do this. There's a safer way to do this, and we can help. And today, Proxy Capital actually, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, helps private equity developers, groups, businesses that are raising capital in any way, shape, or form, very similar to the beautiful funds that are on this platform, by doing monitoring and administration and compliance oversight and investor relations for those funds to help keep that same environment, that safe, trusted ecosystem for the investor. As you can imagine, starting that company and helping international investors migrate to the United States, they would come to us and say, thank you, I need help with everything else now. So we started Proxy Wealth Advisors on the left as an independent and internationally registered investment advisor. So that means that we can manage money for people as a fiduciary anywhere in the world. Doesn't matter if you live here or if you have a bank account here or anything. We can help you. We do the same very, very intense background checks as IRA Club does, very, very similar, to make sure that the money is coming from the right place. But as long as you're in the right place and you're able to prove that the money is safe, we help you just like Brian envisioned, right? From there, 3 other divisions formed. Proxy Health is a full health agency, individual, Medicare, group health, basically anyone that needs health insurance in any environment. We can help demystify that. And we have a lot of a big push towards education there, actually, because there's a lot of twists and turns that nobody really understands and thinks about. Proxy Strategic is a general agency for insurance. Again, we found there to be quite a few cracks in the insurance world, especially with my background and our partners that run that general agency and where they came from. So we tried to start a new, more client-centric life insurance company, and that's Proxy Strategic. And then Proxy Freedom is where we do a lot of our private investment work, where we help a lot of our clients in the retail side with alternative investments at Proxy Freedom. It's broker-dealer registered. It's a fiduciary focus. So our clients that experience work there, they sit down and they say, okay, here's my situation, and they can use alternative investments through financial planning with traditional wealth management to create that perfect balanced portfolio for their client. So all of these things coupled together with the leadership team at Proxy Financial Corp, and it's all tethered by that idea that as long as you put the client first, nothing else really matters. So that's our little company in a nutshell. So how are we different, right? What do we do that's a little bit different than everybody else? This first one is kind of weird, but we're client centric. I'm going to go just real quick into where we think the industry is going as a whole in financial services and some of the ways that we're going to kind of unwind that and fix that a little bit. But believe it or not, a big competitive advantage right now is having a true client centric environment. And that doesn't really exist. I watch these commercials for investment companies and insurance companies, and what they say and what they do are two very different things. And Proxy is built on a platform where if our ability to serve our client, the client experience itself, how they interact with us, how excited they are to meet with us when we meet on a quarterly basis, is the backbone of our business. Because we understand that if we have that true relationship, not that superficial one where we know your numbers, but that real one where we know, more importantly, what gets you up to go to work in the morning and why you're trying to build wealth and what you're worried about or scared of or excited about. That's what creates that real value and a long-term relationship that is fun and enjoyable and creates outcomes that are real. And that's the whole focus of the company and how we built it from bottom up. We have global reach and interaction and innovation. And then we offer 34 different products and services. This is really unique. Most financial advisors out there, if they're working on a great team, they can do like 8 or 9 things. That's it. And to go ahead. Yeah, Ramesh.
CJ, you should explain to people why that is. Why do they only offer 8 to 9 where you could actually offer 34? Or maybe I'm just jumping the gun and I apologize.
No, you're going to tee me up for the next slide, but that's a great question. So most companies, and the reason why we ask that why is because companies, especially large companies, it's difficult for them to innovate. And although the box for the compliance and what you can and can't do is this big, they want their advisors to live in a section this big because they want to be able to control the monetization and the margins on what they're offering. They have no real care in what the client should receive service-wise.
And CJ, and you know what's so funny is, and I'm not sure if anybody knows this or doesn't know this about me, or if maybe first time you ever heard me say this out loud, I come from a massively big family. And I have my fair share of fiduciaries in my family that work for the classical or larger institutions. I mentioned some of them out loud to you guys, such as John Hancock or Schwab or Fidelity. And to CJ's point, they're just limited to these pool of investments. And that's what makes Proxy so unique, is he's offering you 34 different products and types of services where my own cousins, my own family can't do that because they're not tied into one institution. That's what makes Proxy so unique and great to work with.
I appreciate that, Ramez. And to put it into context, one of those products and services is mutual funds, ETFs, stocks. So not 34 different stocks or 34 different ETFs. The entire 18,000 security ecosystem that we have access to, that is everything that exists, is one thing that we do. That's wealth management. So it's healthcare, it's wealth management, it's retirement planning, it's estate planning, it's using the IRA club to utilize retirement tools to better leverage investment, right? Those are the key things. And innovation, right? You guys work with an AI-driven portfolio management company called iFlip. We work with iFlip because we think it's a phenomenal idea, and our competition can't possibly make that board decision and implement that. We're nimble enough to be able to do it, even at our size. With this and your onboarding and your KYC and AML process, how easy it is to set up a trust. This is why we work together, because you have made opening up a self-directed IRA as easy as opening up a new Instagram account. And that is what the client expects in this market today. And that is not what's being delivered. That is why it is such a pleasure to be here. I get to offer this to my clients and make them feel more comfortable about even doing this,
And CJ, most people obviously are IRA Club clients that are listening to this. For those of you that don't know this, IRA Club, and CJ, that's why when you're saying iFlip, that might draw a little bit of confusion. For those of you that have not joined a past webinar with iFlip, iFlip is the tech company that we fully integrated our software with that allows all of our IRA Club clients to now have a trading platform. Okay. So if you did not join the last webinar that we did, I believe last Tuesday with Randy Tate, CEO of iFlip, this is exactly what CJ and his company uses. They use their technology, the AI Smartfolios, that's fully integrated with every single one of yours as IRA or 401k or HSA. If you have been a long time IRA Club member, you have to opt into that platform. So if you choose to do so, do me a favor, go to iraclub.com, go on the top right side, schedule a call with an IRA Club specialist, and we could go ahead and open up your trading platform. And again, CJ, I didn't mean to cut you off. It's just some of our clients, it's only 2 months old, 2.5 months old. They have no idea what you're talking about. So I just want to get that out in the open air.
No, you perfect step in, and iFlip is a phenomenal technology, and we really want them to succeed. Like these are the types of ideas that are out there that are not getting utilized to their fullest potential, and they should be. I mean, we just started using a technology that allows us to take a client's tax return and literally put it into a system, and it does a deep analysis of everything that you can possibly think of, including different ways that you can minimize tax and maximize different arbitration strategies, all in this technology. And companies are so reluctant to use it, but individuals are using it, and companies like ourselves that are more independent are being able to adapt it quite easily. These are things that should happen, and they're not. And it's simply because the lack of innovation that exists. So what do we see ahead, right? These are some just key facts of the industry. There's a consolidation happening, right? You can see it in real estate. You can see it in the healthcare space. You can see it in financial services. Large companies backed by private equity are coming in and they're gobbling up these businesses because their multiples and their IRRs are very strong. A financial services business in most situations has an IRR of about 30 to 40%. And that is profit. That is not top line revenue. And the consistency of that revenue is usually between 8 and 20 years, right? So it's very consistent niche business. It's difficult to acquire because you have to be a specialist. And it's hard for banks to understand the intellectual property behind these businesses. And therefore, it's difficult for companies that are small to acquire. The problem is now, there are probably 100,000 retirement age advisors that are right now trying to sell their practice. There's going to be 300,000 in the next 2 or 3 years. For every one seller, or for every 5 sellers, there's only one qualified buyer outside of private equity that exists, which means that someone or somebody, a company, private equity, that doesn't understand this business, that doesn't understand the client-centric model, is coming in purely for the profitability of these businesses and gobbling them up and portfolioing them. This has absolutely no focus on that client-advisor relationship, and frankly, it probably is the biggest threat to the integrity of our business that exists. But for those individuals who are capitalized properly, those 1 in 5 private investors, this is probably the gold rush, if you will, in our business that's never been seen before. Never have this many retiring age advisors come to market with this few demand as far as buyers are concerned. I think because of the lack of innovation, individuals that are coming out of college and in their 20s and in early 30s becoming successful, they don't look at financial advisory as a space that's the future. And it's because of the lack of innovation. So what are we going to do about it? There's 2 key things. One is I talked about becoming the hub, right? We are extremely open to innovation. We are, for example, there are robo-advisor platforms out there, apps, if you will. Robinhood's one of them, Betterment's one of them, right? There's a bunch of them. All of these applications are really good at marketing and really good at bringing money in, but they don't actually help. They don't give you any advice, and they don't put bumpers on your decision making. Robinhood is purely like go and have fun. There's absolutely no professional overlay to help people make more informed, proper decisions. There's nobody developing that. We are developing a proprietary software to be able to do that specifically for clients who want a relationship with a financial advisor, don't need a quarterly review, don't need to pay heavy fees, but want professional advice. They want bumpers on what they're doing. The fact that that's not being innovated is incredible to me. We're also using blockchain. Our private equity division has a proprietary blockchain technology that uses the coding, not cryptocurrency, but simply the blockchain coding that assures the transparency and immutability of data on a ledger to create our own proprietary product that for private equity and for developers and for fund managers that are raising capital to not only decrease the cost that it takes to administer their fund, but to make it significantly safer for the investor and more transparent for the investor involved. The fact that that technology lives on a cloud or in QuickBooks is crazy to me, especially with all of the risk and all of the ability to commit fraud in that ecosystem. These are the things that we want to keep focusing on. What are ways that we can use our ecosystem, our 200 professional partnerships, our 70 financial advisors and insurance agents, and our offices all around the world to be able to take great ideas that make sense, that are safe, and test them in a real environment, not only to give a platform for those technology companies that are doing what needs to be done, but to create an opportunity to make incredible amounts of wealth that we can then deploy into our ecosystem to better the environment again. That is the whole impetus behind the technology factor of what we're trying to do. And secondly, it's kind of to be, we joke about this, but it makes a lot of sense. We want to be the Noah's Ark, if you will, for great financial advisors and great retiring advisors that don't want to be in that environment with the private equity and don't want to sell for the highest dollar without a concern for the client. A lot of individuals that I meet when I go around to interview practices and meet with individuals who are selling, their number one concern genuinely is their clients. They have done a great job of building those true relationships that matter, that really create a fortified, like they're at their wedding, right? They're being invited to funerals now. That's not a service relationship. That is a real relationship. And I want Proxy to continue to be the Noah's Ark where we can take great advisors that want to be that for the retiring advisor and for their clients, but don't have the money for it and want to be that institution for retiring advisors that are worried about what's going to happen, and create that synergy and create that effect that's going to protect the integrity of what we're doing, right? I look at us as kind of like your old school mahogany office with cutting edge technology in it. That human interaction is old school and it's never or should never change. But the leveraging and the implementation of things like IRA Club and the things like these technology innovations that I'm speaking of are the reason why it continues to be useful in the world that we're evolving into. So that's kind of our goal as we get out there, right? Okay, this is my favorite part. How can we help the IRA Club? So there's two things we really want to be here. First is the more passive. If you are a fund manager or you are thinking about coming onto the platform and you're worried about having tons of new investors, right? Or frankly, there comes a time as a fund becomes more successful that it becomes more complex. And that then in tune, like it says here, comes with additional costs. We are really, really good at being a argument for not bringing in a huge new staff, but partnering with a technology / service providing company like ours that is obsessed with the investor services part of the business, right? A lot of times a developer or a fund manager, excuse me, doesn't really think about the idea that we see on a regular basis. Like we have a client trying to buy a home for their kid for a wedding gift, and they have to close in 2 days, and they need documents on how much they have in every one of their accounts, right? That becomes cumbersome when you have thousands of investors. We are really well equipped to be able to help there. And as you're thinking about scaling your funds or building your practices, if you want advice or just consultation on what we've seen in the industry on how to build and to scale faster or more safely than you may be doing it right now, we want to be there. And it's pure conversation. Let's sit down and see how we can help, right? Our favorite thing to do is to sit down and say, what's important to you and how can we help you get there? More importantly, and this is the reason why I think I knocked on Ramez's door so often in the beginning, and why I'm so excited about this for our partnership, is we want to be a guiding light for anyone in this ecosystem that's considering making their first investment, considering making an additional investment, worried about how much they should invest, or which fund, if they're choosing between two, to invest in, right? Or just frankly, any general advice. I said it when I sat down in the bank earlier. We want to be your financial Google. We want you to use Google to audit what we say and the advice that we give, so that you have your own independent kind of backdrop. But before you go to the internet, we would love to be that phone call to be able to help you answer that question and give you the resources to get you where you want to go. I think there's a lot of bad information out there. And if we're building trust and talking about building a real relationship and helping you get to a decision, giving you great advice is the only way to do that in this part of the business. So if you have any question at all, we are going to be putting our own fund, fortunately, on this platform. So I have done my due diligence on each and every one of the offerings on the platform, and there is a lot. For one reason or another, every one of these funds provides a really, really good opportunity, but it depends on where you're at and what you're trying to accomplish and what your portfolio looks like. So that is the idea. It's not to tell you, hey, this one's cooler than this one, but it's to really get a deep understanding of who you are, where you are financially, through kind of, we call it a financial fitness test. That's why the dumbbells are there. But we want to go through a real understanding of where you are and why you're considering what you're considering. And then we can give you a different, maybe, viewpoint from that parapet of what we see, so you can make a more informed decision for yourself. That's the baby. So those are the two asks. And on the marketplace, you'll see right underneath the about Proxy or about the company, the website clicker. That's going to be for a free consultation for the foreseeable future. So if you want to sit down, just click the button and meet with us there.
And CJ, I didn't mean to cut you off. I put it inside the chat for everybody that's listening, that their contact information is right then and there. But what CJ is referring to is on Investors Row, and I'll go through that process, CJ, where they could find you, how to connect. You could see all of the decks of everything that Proxy offers. And again, we'll go through that towards the tail end after we're done answering questions.
Thank you. Cool. Okay. If you want to participate in what we're doing, so coming soon, hopefully this month, we're in March now. Yeah. Hopefully this month in Q1, will be fully launched. It's our business acquisition debt fund. So our goal is to be able to control our own capital. The banking system is slowing down with a recession coming. Capitalization is key to be able to continue to capitalize on these great acquisitions. And we've put together a pretty darn good track record independently to this point. And we've starting to get a lot of interest in, hey, how can I participate in this? How can I don't know financial services, but I know the stability of the industry. How can I get a piece of this? How can I invest alongside of your expertise in your ecosystem to be able to make money on what you're doing? And we are thinking and considering an equity model in the future, but the first fund that we are going to come to market with is our business acquisition debt fund. So it's going to provide an 8% preferred return. It can be paid quarterly or annually, a 4% interest until deployed. So that's a big thing, because we're asset managers and because we are wealth managers. If you are to subscribe to the fund, most of the time in funds, some of the funds on the platform don't do this, thank goodness, which I love. But some funds you have to wait and you don't get any return until they deploy the money, or they ask you to do an LOI and you got to do what you want to do with the money until it's ready. We say, if you are interested in this, give us the assets right now, and we will make sure that money is at work from day one, before it is deployed, and then again after it's deployed. So there's no slack on that investment. That allows it to be a little more nimble. And again, we can pay the quarterly or annual dividend. And we kept it about 5 to 7 years, which is more traditional with capturing maybe the downturn in interest rates at the tail end of that, so you can get some stability on an income stream. And we have a very small minimum. We're only looking to raise maybe $5 million in the first year in this fund, and we don't want there to be a huge barrier to entry. So it's $25,000 minimum investment. And again, the idea is the investment is going to either be directly deployed into those acquisitions that are IRRing about 30 to 40%, or being deployed into what we call our war chest, because we are asset managers. We have a very good control over liquid capital for interest purposes, and then we deploy it out and return money to investors. It's a very clean, simple acquisition process, but in a very niche environment that's hard to penetrate.
Got it.
So in summation, the business acquisition debt fund is coming soon to Investors Row. Keep a lookout for that. But more importantly, we want to be there for you. And we want to not only encourage you through free consultation, there is our sales model, just to be transparent. We do not ask you to hire us until we've shown you the value and we've spent time together. So we don't do this thing like most financial advisors where we say, hey, this was great, like pay us money and then we'll meet again. We present a full financial plan or a full solution to what you're trying to accomplish. And then we ask you to hire us. So you understand the value you're getting, and you understand and you see the effort and the energy and the work that we put in with our expertise before you decide to partner with us.
The information contained herein is intended to help the viewer successfully navigate common IRS and Department of Labor requirements to help achieve successful results from their IRA. The information is not intended to replace information from your legal counsel or income tax professional. IRA Club does not offer or sell any investment. All investments have risk.